dear. It is lovely and quiet out here. So I was talking about winter riding. So today it's wintry, it's wet. One of the hardest things is getting out of bed in the first place, particularly if it's an early morning and it's cold outside. So I think motivation is a really big part of all this. A good way around this is to get in the habit. So make the ride a habit. Get yourself all set up, so all your gear set up, ready to go. Yeah, get yourself set up so your gear is all ready to go. Prep the bike, prep all your clothes beforehand. So you put the effort in before you go to bed. That's a little bit more of an incentive to get out of bed. Maybe tell yourself you're just going to do the first 10 miles. At least you're going to do the first 10 miles. And if you're too cold and you're not enjoying it, then you're going to come home. So you've made a deal with yourself that that's what you're going to do. It is physical and mental toughness, really, isn't it? I suppose getting up and going out for winter riding. The physical side of it you really do during the summer, and in the winter you're just doing some base miles. But for me, it's doing the winter riding is about mental toughness, and it's no different than physical health and mental health. Mental health is becoming more and more in the public eye at the moment, and I think it's the same with toughness. You've got to be able to get out and do it. Set yourself some goals. Set a route, put the effort in prepping the route, and have places that you're going to stop. Make the route relatively easy. Don't go off-road or anything like that. You're just going to get yourself stuck. That's what I did last time I went out for a ride. I got stuck in some fields, and it all just got a little bit, my morale plummeted, let's put it that way. It's about 45 minutes of walking through through shit. Other things for winter riding. Visibility isn't obvious. I'm not going to go into that. Good clothing is obvious. I'll come to clothing in a second. You could join a club, which is good for motivation, getting you out and doing it. Good for banter. You can have races and that sort of thing. So joining a club's quite a good idea. I haven't done that though. Maybe take a break every three or 4 weeks. Maybe every 4 weeks, take a break. Do something with the family. Do something different. Consider doing off-road. I think that's quite a good idea. Yeah, finally, winter riding is about base miles. It's not about knackering yourself. It's about having a bit of fun. So you've got to try to make the riding fun. If it's no fun and it's cold, you're just going to be put off. Right, I'm gonna head off onto Bridgewater. Talk to you later. It's so cold that even Pluto has got a red nose. So about the bike, it really doesn't matter what sort of bike you get. So you can go and get a dedicated bike for it, but the whole point is that you're out riding. So whatever you've got, if you've got a steel bike, then you probably want to put some protective spray inside it during the winter. And you can get protective waterproof sprays, which I use on this bike certainly. So up under the hoods in there, aluminium, so it should be okay, but I'll give it a good spray of some protective silicone spray. Maintenance, I would always take tubes. I used to repair punctures, things like that, but I don't bother anymore in the winter anyway. Take a spare tube. Getting the glue to set I find really tricky. The area to pay particular attention to really is any moving parts. So your drive chain, but it's all about getting the grit, getting salt out. You get lots of, I think you should clean your bike personally, rinse it down at least after every ride, but particularly the chain is what I always do. Even if you just brush it off with an old toothbrush and then a bit more lube, and I don't degrease that often, maybe once every 3 or 4 rides, which is probably 300 miles in the winter. Right, planning wise, I go for shorter rides. I go for rides that are going to get me a little bit more fizz in terms of consistency. What I don't want to do is end up climb, descent, climb, descent, climb, descent. So the Devon Hills are a nightmare for me in the winter because you just freeze up on the way down, you sweat up on the way up. I would avoid them. So I like Somerset levels are fantastic. You can keep a nice constant pace going, which is great. The only snag is in the winter you get a lot of wind and the levels, and you can see it's all pretty open. But yeah, so try and do lots of stops. That helps encourage you to get going on the ride in the first place if you've only got 20 miles between stops. Make sure when you get to a stop that you're going to be warm. So 24-hour service stations are great, providing you can get warm in there as well and leave your bike locked up outside maybe. So I'm off to Sweets Cafe now, which I know is great for, I can lock my bike up. I know it's safe. I don't even have to lock my bike. It's safe and nice and warm in there. They generally got a fire going. I hope they've got a fire going anyway, because I feel like I need it. If you're going to do a big ride, sometimes it's worth going really early in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock. Depends if you enjoy riding at night, really. I love it, but roads are much quieter. Main roads, you can get some real distance going, nice and fast. But yeah, that's always worth it, thinking about. Okay, bibs, definitely worth investing in a really good set of bibs. So I've got Endura. In fact, I'll just show you there. Endura F, don't know what that is, 60 Pro SL. These are brilliant. They got a proper wind protective layer on front. Really warm, not feeling cold at all with these things on, even when I was just standing still. And they've got a good sized pad because I've got a fat ass. So they've got a good sized pad at the back, which is a lesson I've learned in the last year. To have the right size saddle and the right size padding, chamois for your butt. I've got a wide butt, so yeah, those are well worth it. And layers under here, so base layers. So I've got a really good base layer with long sleeves. I've then got another top, in fact 2 tops after that, and then this thing here. I don't know what this is. It's certainly waterproof, definitely waterproof. I think it's starting to lose its breathability, but it's got some great zips up under here, which really do work when it gets hot. Just undo those and you can just feel that, and undo the top a little bit, you can feel that heat get dumping really quick. So good clothes, really important. Yeah, I would also take 2 sets of gloves. So I've got obviously these gloves. What I should have brought is these and my much warmer ones. I actually ended up choosing these and fingerless gloves because I thought the temperature was going to go up, and it really hasn't. So yeah, bad call there. And the other gloves you can just keep warm down your front, just to keep those warmed up, ready to go. You can also buy some chemical sachets that you can put not on your skin, but I think you can for the gloves. You can put them on the skin, you can put them in your soles of your feet as well, that last for a few hours, that apparently work really well. Not tried them, I've got a couple, but I haven't tried them yet. But that's it for clothing. It kind of makes it ruins it if you get too cold. And I'm going home today just because my fingers are that little bit too cold. Yeah, kind of ruined it a little bit for me, so I'm just going to head home early. Should have been a little bit smarter, but I was just trusting the forecast, and the forecast was wrong. Anyway, still worth loving it, still worth checking. Actually, what I didn't mention, which I should have mentioned, is if you can, take a second layer, something to keep you warm when you stop. Now some people can take a sort of kind of a thermal body warmer that will pack down real tight. I reckon that's a really good investment. I've got a man-made fibre sort of thermal jacket, but with the sleeves. I'm probably just going to see if I can get one with a body warmer. They look really good, and I've seen a few people wearing those when they stop. Just unpack those out of a little package and keeping them warm. I think that's quite a good idea, which I'm going to try out, I think, this winter. Actually, I feel much better now. Nice and warm. Why did I turn? Why didn't I carry on? Bugger. I should have kept going. Never mind. I'll do a few more miles before I get home. Did I mention about tyres? For winter riding, I reckon you should go for wider tyres for no other reason than a bit more comfort. A bit more comfort when it's cold or raining or windy. I think it's worth its weight in gold. So a set of 28s. I'm not sure I've talked about tyres, but 25mm tyres I think are absolutely fine. But I think in the winter it's worth, if you can, if they'll fit into your wheels, getting some 28s just for that extra bit of comfort, a little bit more puncture protection, and there's a little bit more road surface that you're touching, particularly when it's icy. So it's probably worth it. So maybe have a second set of wheels if you've only got one bike with some wider tyres. Another thing to talk about is fitness. And I think the only thing in the winter that's different really is the fact that it's mental fitness as much as anything. So going out when it's crap weather, I think is a really good idea. Toughens you up a little bit. What sort of power? Somewhere between 55 and 75% of your FTP is probably the right place to sit. And I would say of your max heart rate, 70 to 85%, I wouldn't go above that really. Okay, with the weather, I'm either good with rain or the cold or the wind. I don't mind one of those, but I can't do two. So I always check the forecast. If there's two of those, I don't bother. However, I probably should do a bit more of that. I've been caught out and ended up in having 2 or 3 of those in the past, but I never plan to go out in them because I want to keep enjoying the riding. Okay, ice is the one thing that really scares the shit out of me. If you're going to ride on, if you think it's icy conditions, look at the forecast, look at your Garmin or your Wahoo, but just beware that their temperature sensors take a good period of time before they're actually reading the right temperature, so that they slowly count down because of how they work. Yeah, when you're out and you think it's going to be icy, if you're on a road like this, so a lane where there's hardly been any cars, you may be first thing in the morning, I would avoid being over where the car tyres go. If you can, there's not too much debris, go in the middle if you need to brake, because there's that bit more grit, therefore that bit more grip, and the ice is generally going to be, the water will hopefully, because of the camber of the road, the water will have run off one side, and the water will hopefully, or should be, below the grit level, if you see what I mean. So if I'm going to brake, that's where I'll go to brake. I always put the majority of my braking on the back brake, because yeah, on the back brake, just so that if anything goes, that's the first place to go and I can control that. If the front goes, I've pretty much had it and I'm going to come off. So most of it on the back brake, and then only when I'm really sure that there's no ice in front of me do I ever use the front brake. So back brake most of the time, front brake when I need to. Admittedly, the front brake's got the more power, but it's the one that's gonna cause me to come off. If you're on a main road, then the best place I think to be is where the cars where the car tyres have been, because the tyres would have warmed up that road, broken up the ice a little bit, warmed it up a little bit, enough to get rid of the ice. So that's always a good place to put your tyres. And the final bit really is you've got to keep your, it's obvious, I know it's obvious, is keep your eyes in front of you. So looking for potholes, looking for puddles. I avoid puddles because I don't know what's under them. You hit a nasty pothole, and that's it. You can lose spokes. If you've got tubeless, I've had it before where the rear has gone and hit a pothole that was under the water, and it completely deformed the tyre somehow, and the tubeless was useless. And you can get pinch flats, obviously, which I think I mentioned earlier. Yeah, if there are leaves, so if it's the autumn, if there are trees, so you're in an open area, then it goes into some with trees overhead, then just be really careful on your brakes. It's all really obvious. And even if it looks dry on the majority of the roads, then as soon as you go into those trees, it could well be wet, and you got the leaves, so you go from a dry area straight into a black hole effectively with water and soggy leaves. So I always drop my speed off before I hit into a wooded area. Now I'm glad I set off when I did. Over there is a nasty storm, tons of rain all coming down. I'm getting home quick, so it'll only be about 75 miles, but that's all right. It's lovely and warm now. I kind of wish I'd stayed out, but I don't want to be stuck in that cold, rain, wind. No thanks. Well, it's not too cold. It's pretty good. Right, back at last. That was a really good fun ride. Cold to start with, and you know what, actually when I was in Sweets in the cafe, because I didn't have that second layer on, I should have, if I'd had a body warmer or something, I reckon that would have kept me warm while I was in there, but that's when I cooled right off. And so when I set off, actually, even though I was inside having a hot drink, it wasn't enough. I got out and I was cold, and it took me a good 45 minutes to warm up. But anyway, got it back, did about 72 miles, I think. As soon as I get back, I wash my bike, although I did get caught out by the back end of that shower that I saw. Yeah, so I washed my bike. There we go, so giving it a quick wash. I have spun the chain, spun this, trying to get as much of that water off as possible. Now I'm just going to let it dry naturally. And then look after the chain. Probably take the wheel off, maybe a bit of degreaser in there. It's been a couple of rides now. A bit of degreaser and clean that up. So I always come back to the bike, just let it dry off naturally. Yeah, so quite eventful. I beat some mopeds up a hill. I met a really nice guy called Blair, who was from Audax Bristol. Who just stopped and had a chat with me for a little bit, and then of course I met Adam Watkins. Brilliant. So I'm quite chuffed with that ride, and I feel pretty good. It was a bit cold. I should have taken, instead of those half covers on the boots, I should have taken full set of what are they called? Boot covers. I got 2 sets of them. I should have taken a full set of those. And I should have, instead of taking my mid-temperature gloves and my fingerless ones, I should have taken mid-temperature and the colder ones. I reckon the mid-temperature, after looking at all the temperatures over that day, I think they're good from about +3 up to about +7 or 8, and then I want to go for the fingerless ones, and then below that, I need to go for those warm ones below +3 degrees. Yeah, because I definitely needed those there. But otherwise, yeah, not bad. some sort of body warmer is what I will think I might take next time. See if I can get a really tight packing one. Anyway, that's my ride with a little bit of emphasis on winter riding.